So you'll notice that when you add a strategy, when you first add a strategy, right down here to the configured list, that you can change all these settings. So for example, you can change your account if you have other accounts, of course. In order to change settings here, you can do that right now. But one thing, right, so what this lesson is about here is that once you enable the strategy, so let me check it, and then if I hit apply, or if I hit OK, but I'm going to hit apply. So now that BlackBird's finished loading up, you'll notice that NinjaTrader disables all of the properties here, right? This entire properties list has been disabled by NinjaTrader, right? This is out of BlackBird's control. The only thing that so if you want to change your account right now, or I don't know, maybe you want to change one of the other options here, you have to disable the strategy, hit apply, and now you can see NinjaTrader allows you to change these settings now. All right. So it's amazing how many people get tripped up by this because they don't, well, I guess the reason is pretty simple. Most people don't watch the training videos that NinjaTrader provides. So, admittedly, we all want to kind of skip to the end, right, and not have to watch any kind of training videos. But if you do watch NinjaTrader's training videos, this is one of the things that they will explain in their training videos is that strategies, they all get disabled, or the menus here, the properties gets disabled once the strategy is up and running, once it's been enabled. So let me also just kind of make note. You'll notice that, right, the go long and go short and the buy buttons here are all disabled right now, and that's because BlackBird is blank. BlackBird doesn't know what to do. Right? BlackBird has not been told what type of entry order you want, what type of profit target you want, or what type of stop loss, right? There's no order settings inside of BlackBird yet. So that's why everything's disabled, right? Because it doesn't know what to trade. So we're going to go hit the order settings button here, right, to open up BlackBird's interface. And you'll notice, right, there's no order set in here. So if we look at the order set, right, it's empty. So as soon as we add something here, so let's create at least a market entry order. There we go. And now that at least we have an entry order to open up a position. So now if I click OK, now the trade buttons are enabled, right? Because now BlackBird goes, oh, okay, at least it can place a market entry order. All right, so let's see here. So let me just kind of create a quick example to finish answering Kirk's question about scaling in additional contracts here. So let's see here. Actually, I'm gonna make this a really wide profit target because I don't want it to get hit while I answer this question. And let's also make a really wide stop loss as well. I'm just double checking here. Yeah, so all right, so Kirk is using BloodHound signals to automate BlackBird. So let me just throw in a quick BloodHound template here so we can get some signals. And I'll just use my little crossover test. Click OK. And I need to select an entry signal for BlackBird to trade. I'll just use my price inflection with MACD filter. All right, that's my quick and easy go-to. And let's see, also what I'll answer, I did get another question about the adjusting the racing stripes here. All right, so you'll notice here within the signal settings here, within the BloodHound signal settings, you can turn on and off the racing stripes, right, which is BloodHound's, green and red signals that you'll see on the chart from BloodHound. And so the question was, how do you change the color of those racing stripes? So I'll also show that as well here in just a moment. So, all right, so we have basically a fully automated trading system here, right? We got trade signals and we have an order set, something for BlackBird to trade. And let's get that up and running. So you'll notice BlackBird sends a little message that we need to reload here so that BlackBird can get BloodHound loaded. So nothing in NinjaTrader is automatic. NinjaTrader basically always requires a reload. Basically, the software, either whether it's an indicator or a strategy, when you're changing things around, NinjaTrader always requires the chart to be reloaded for those changes to take effect. So since I added a BloodHound signals to BlackBird, NinjaTrader requires a reload to get BloodHound up and running inside of BlackBird. All right, and let's go ahead and select our BloodHound logic template there. All right, so remember, I set up the price inflection with a MACD filter as the entry signals, and now we can see those entry signals right on the chart. And let's enable the auto trading there. And now we just need to wait for another trade signal to come along. And I am connected to a live data feed, so just have to be a little patient here and wait. All right, it looks like we might get another short signal. And there we go. So, all right, so now we can get to the question, which was, how do I add more contracts? Because if you notice, right, the go short button is disabled, right? So once BlackBird has entered into a trade, it's going to disable the go short buttons because BlackBird, doesn't want multiple contracts to be entered. So for example, you see all these short signals here that we have, right? We have a lot of short signals. And in our discussions with customers, almost none of them want their strategy to keep adding more contracts like this, right? So they, so basically no customer wants their strategy to add 5 more order sets, right? So we see there's 5 short signals, now there's 6, right? So traders don't want their strategy to just keep piling on more and more and more contracts. So, so Raven and BlackBird are designed where it will only enter a position once, and then it will ignore the extra trade signals that you see here. So if you do want to keep scaling in additional contracts, let's see here. There's a couple ways we can do that. If you're into using the dynamic planner, right, we can plan short, and you can do it that way, right? So we can see I have the planning flags here, so I can plan out where I want my profit target and my profit targets down below here. This is a short trade, so I can select where I want my profit target and where I want my stop loss to go, and you can use the dynamic planner. That's execute, and there we go. All right, so the dynamic planner had executed a market entry order. And why did it execute a market entry order? Well, my order set here, if we open up BlackBird, right, what is my entry order? It's a market entry order. So BlackBird is executing what you set up inside of it, right? So the whole point of these order sets is to tell BlackBird, what type of entry order you want and where you want your profit target and where do you want your stop loss. So we can use the dynamic planner to scale in additional contracts, and the dynamic planner, as you saw, allows you to kind of preset or, adjust and preset where your profit target and or stop loss will go before you execute live. Or the other option is if we go to order sets, right? So we can see on the left, there's order sets and there's performance, right? Two separate menus here. So if we pull up the order monitor, and let's pin this so that it's permanent, and you'll see there is a scale in button right there. And I can hit the scale in and bingo, BlackBird just scaled in additional contracts. And there goes the market, hitting my stop loss. And wow, that market just took right off. So there we go. So there's the two ways that you can add to an existing position manually. All right, here we go. So now BlackBird's entered a long trade, and so now if I hit the scale in button, right, it's gonna add long positions, and with the scaling button, we can control how many additional contracts you want to scale in with. So you can see there's the plus button is increasing the number of contracts. So it's up to 5 now, and I can decrease it as well. Yeah, there we go. So let's see, with the dynamic planner, you'll notice that with the dynamic planner, you can't adjust the number of contracts. So the dynamic planner is, while you can use it for scaling in, that's really not its main intent. The scaling button is really, as the name implies, is specifically designed for scaling in. The dynamic planner is really more specifically designed to take your order set. So since this order set is set to one contract, so if we wanted to trade two contracts using the dynamic planner, you would want to increase your number of contracts there, like so. So yeah, and so then with the dynamic planner, its main point is to allow you to adjust your profit target and or stop loss ahead of time before executing live. That's really the main intent here. So also with the entry order, since this is a market, right? Obviously you cannot dictate where a market order gets filled. All right, it gets filled at the market. So if you want to control where your entry order is using the dynamic planner, then you simply need to change your entry order to a limit or a stop, right? Set it to, one of the other order types, like so that way it doesn't get filled. All right. So if I change it to limit, click OK. Now, if I go into the dynamic planner, let's scroll that up. So if I plan long, and let's see here. Oh, yeah. So what's happening here is you'll notice, so actually you guys may not have noticed, but I noticed that I don't see my entry order yet. And that's because BlackBird is in an existing trade. And there's a little message here that tells you that the new settings will take effect after the current position is flat, right? So what that means is, while BlackBird allowed us to change our entry order, it's not going to utilize this change until the existing position is flat, right? In other words, this is kind of a safeguard so that traders don't accidentally go mucking around with their order sets and then BlackBird and then having those changes affect their existing trade, right? So BlackBird's going to hold on to the previous settings until this current trade is over with. And once this current trade, this long trade goes flat, then BlackBird will load in the new changes. Right? So this way it's kind of a safeguard so that traders don't accidentally mess up their current trade by going in here and maybe you adjust your stop loss and you forget, and then BlackBird goes, oh, you want a new stop loss, and it moves your stop loss, right, and it messes up your trade. So all right, so now that BlackBird's flat, right, the new, oh, let's see, did it actually, let's see if it did take effect. I might not have closed out the interface fast enough. Let's see, it's in a short trade now. Okay, yeah, there we go. So the new changes did take effect, and I can see my entry order here, right? So I now have a limit entry order that I can adjust and determine where that entry order will get placed, right, using the dynamic planner. And if I move my entry order to the other side of the market, I know it's probably kind of hard for you guys to read the text, but you'll, if you play around with this on your machine, you'll notice that the entry order switches to a stop, right? It went from a limit to a stop entry, and it's actually a stop limit in this case, right? So BlackBird is smart enough to determine, what type of entry order to use depending if your entry is above or below the market, right? So now if I move my entry above the market again, it'll change the entry order automatically to a limit entry order. Right? And of course, this is a short, right? So shorts are going to be limit entries above the market, and a short would be a stop entry below the market. So there we go. All right. So anyways, that was actually a whole lot covered, a lot of different questions covered. So scaling in, a little bit about using the dynamic planner. And let's see. Yeah, actually, you know what? There is also, you'll notice some scale in. There actually is a scaling option down here. Let's open this up a little bit more. There is a scaling option down here for the dynamic planner as well. So, right. And let's see the final question here. Oh, yeah, I guess one last tip for the dynamic planner. So there is actually a separate video for the dynamic planner here, but when you are using the dynamic planner, right, so we can see I have a short order here in a planning stage so if you change your mind and you don't want to use the dynamic planner to get into a trade, then you just simply click the toggle button again, and that turns off the dynamic planner, right? So these are just toggle buttons that just toggle on and off when you're using the dynamic planner, like so. Yeah, so the other miscellaneous question here that I saw in the tickets, in our support email tickets, was changing the color of the BloodHound racing stripes when BloodHound's being used inside a BlackBird, right, inside of a strategy. And again, that's to change the colors. It is just like changing any kind of indicator colors, right? So if I double click on one of BloodHound's signals down here, if I double click on it, and you can see, shrink this up a little bit, right? You can see that opens up the indicators list, right? So this is NinjaTrader's indicator window here. And then we can see down here, it does say BlackBird. So obviously BlackBird is a strategy. So why is it showing up in the indicators list? Well, what we did was when BloodHound is being used inside of BlackBird, we changed the name of BloodHound, we changed it to BlackBird. That way, this lets you know that this BloodHound is actually running inside of BlackBird. So that will help you differentiate between BloodHound as an indicator, right? BloodHound, independent of itself, running on the chart. So we can have, BloodHound running on the chart, as an indicator. And then we can also have, like right now we do have BloodHound running on the chart, but it's running through the BlackBird strategy. So we changed the name so that you can easily tell, which of these bloodhounds is running inside of BlackBird and which of these bloodhounds is running as an indicator by itself, right? So, all right, let's remove the bloodhound. So so let's go into BlackBird here, right, which is really bloodhound. And you'll notice that NinjaTrader provides you a plots section and the lines section here. So this is where you can change the colors for bloodhound. Right, you can change the plot colors here. So let's say if I didn't want to see green, let's say I wanted to see blue. So let's go and change our color to blue here. Let's make it a nice bright blue. There we go, deep sky blue, nice bright blue, like that. And if I click OK, now we can see the long signals are now blue, like so. NinjaTrader, unfortunately, does not allow you to save these color changes. If you'll notice down here, there's no template that you can load or save when an indicator is running inside of a strategy. So that's kind of unfortunate there, right? So if we do have bloodhound, on our list as an indicator, right, NinjaTrader does allow you to load and save templates here so that you can pre-save the plot colors. But when the indicator is running through a strategy, yeah, NinjaTrader does not allow you to save those templates, those color templates, or those setting templates, I guess. I think that kind of does it for all the little miscellaneous questions here that I saw this morning.